committees. That is a governance ecosystem. And whether we like it or not, everybody's got to understand their role and know how they interact, the best outcome for the corporation or the people they're serving. Oh, I got trigger happy. So what does raising the bar look like from our point of view? Firstly, engage with the community so they understand what director and committee roles are all about. Firstly, so I suppose they might be inspired to find out more and to put their hand up. So we don't have the same people who move through position to position to position because there's no one else who is equipped or understands what those roles are about. Secondly, when you engage the community and they understand a director's role, they're more likely to nominate someone from their family group who actually has the aptitude and the attitude that's going to serve their people well. I'm not sure whether the community really understands the responsibilities that sit with director roles. And third, to be honest, I've seen some directors be treated really badly by their community because the community doesn't understand the pressure that they're under. We also think that corporations and trusts need to step up. Corporate governance training, we talk about that a lot, and again we tend to wait until people are in the position or we have to do it because we've got to fix the problem, or ORIC tells us we have to do it, or the money's being withheld from a group because something's gone wrong. But if we did that preparation up front, you'd have a bigger pool of really capable people to draw from. And ultimately, when people have those skills, whether they progress to a committee or to a board, they're equipped in their community to be good decision makers. And frankly, you know, making good governance results in good decisions, and good decisions needs good decision makers. The more we equip people, the better. Nominations and selection processes. I understand every group has got a different way of going about this, and that's absolutely for the group to set what they think is appropriate as far as a nomination criteria. Yet I will speak specifically as far as independent directors are concerned. A lot of independent directors have to be selected off particular lists that, for example, resource sector companies or government says is appropriate. We believe that the selection process for an independent director should be driven by TO specific or criteria that the traditional owner directors feel is important for their group at that particular point in time. And that if you're an independent director, you ought to have gone through some form of cultural engagement before you put your hat into the ring. TO and independent directors working better together to share cultural, financial and corporate knowledge and to share those responsibilities. We have seen too many examples where it's the independent director that is deferred to when it comes to making financial decisions. That's not empowering the group, that's outsourcing. And there are some independent directors, and again, this might be the minority, but we see it too often, who impose a particular view because they have the qualification. Whereas we believe very much in knowledge transfer. You know, independent directors taking a back seat and invited to make comment in an advisory capacity where appropriate. We also think that there is enormous knowledge and wisdom held by traditional owners that could be imparted on independent directors to better help them serve their community. Just like I think Julian said, boards ought to undertake regular performance process, and that might just be talking around the table once every couple of months and how we're tracking. What's worked, what hasn't worked, what could we do differently? But some sort of mechanism where you're stopping and you're reflecting and you're thinking about how we're functioning is important, and particularly if you've got paid directors or if you've got independent advisors that you are importing their talent, they need feedback. And you shouldn't necessarily just renew contracts without some sort of process. So we believe over time, not just through preparing directors well and the experience they have on boards, we will ultimately develop a bigger pool of people to draw from who not only are more qualified people, but they are better qualified, better equipped and more experienced. FDIO would really like to see a reverse engineering of the process, whereas rather than Aboriginal organisations have to choose from an independent list, well, actually government and corporations should be coming and choosing Aboriginal talent to sit around a board so they actually have a balanced perspective. Now, FDIO doesn't do this. We facilitate and we companion groups through it. But we do have a model to offer. It's called their Director Registration Program. That really refers to us holding a list of TO approved independent directors. But there are 3 stages. First is prepare. So that's about identifying, working with your community, informing them of what a director role involves, getting family to put someone forward who they think meets the criteria, educating and informing them. Now that can be through a youth council, a committee, inviting an open session of the board, an information session. It could be the directors from the family holding a meeting, a barbecue, with their family and telling them what it's really like and giving them some insight as to what it's like and what you actually have to do as a director. Selection is obviously in the hands for most of the community, or in the case of independent advisors to the board, in the hands of the board. Choose wisely. And that's not just with independent directors, that's with any service provider. We have some very well credentialed service providers who will drop a report and then move away, and the corporations are left with dealing with the fallout. So some of this actually also applies to service provider, and ultimately performing. A solid induction that sets your directors up for success. Here are the rule books, here's the constitution, here's our story. And then ongoing development and evaluation. So the corporate and the cultural obligations are fulfilled. It's been quite deliberate. That pathway is about traditional owner and independent advisors working together to a point where, frankly, independent advisors, as someone said earlier, is actually at the behest of the groups and when we need a little bit of technical advice. So I think it'd be nice to hear from the panel some practical examples of what's happening on the ground and how